Hey, 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 hey. Oh yeah, we're getting started again. How you guys doing? This is Individual Perspective Podcast. I am your host, Daris D. McKinney. And we're gonna be doing a lot of these mindset inventory checks, box checks really. Leading into the New Year's Eve. Oh, taking a moment, like my breaks away from editing films and everything is to come online and do podcasts. So it's really not a break, So I wanted to jump in here and talk to you guys and update you to what's going on. But before we, like, today I'm gonna go through a lot of news stuff. I think I'm gonna do the Jay-Z thing first because I think people got that totally. I think the way that people communicate about it is a whole. Look, I'm not even gonna talk about that yet. Leave that from when I actually talk about it, right? So what I'm doing right now as we speak, I'm kind of going in here. I want to get a different episode image that I'm gonna post on here, but I want it to be called Never Quit. That's what this episode is about. Never quit. Because that positive reinforcement that's detrimental to every makeup of success, you may not get that from your family members, your significant others, or anything like that, but you gotta keep going. You gotta keep fighting for it. Gotta keep fighting for why you even doing it. Why you even entertaining any of this stuff, even whatever you're doing in life. I don't know what everybody's goals are, but we all have different goals and different things that we're trying to accomplish for ourselves and for our own identity and everything like that. But never quit, and I think a lot of times, we get in a path of doing things or kind of seeking accomplishment of a specific thing in our life, and we decide to go in it, and then when it gets really tough and it gets really brutal, we actually give up and quit because everything seems to be going against us, and that's when you need that positive reinforcement to tell you that everything you try to accomplish is not easy. It's all it's all based on your ambition and what you're willing to do to get it to accomplish and to achieve what you're seeking. You know what I mean? So in the matter of it all, I always say never quit. And I'm sure you hear that a lot from a lot of podcasters and a lot of motivational speakers and everything like that. But I want to communicate it to the everyday man, everyday person out there. Social majority of your social influencers and your actual podcasters and stuff, they got a nest egg that they went into their social media influencing and real estate or whatever apparatus, podcasting, whatever they kind of are advocating. They kind of went into that field with a nest egg, with maybe I'll say $50,000 to $200,000 of equity that they can actually play with to be a podcaster, you know? So most of you guys are not in that situation. You're not going to be in that situation, you know? So, and the reason why I'm mentioning this is because that's when you need to understand how important it is to really fight for what you're trying to fight for, because the people that you're trying to mimic, or you're trying to get the accomplishment that they have, sometimes they had a better foot in to it than you will probably have, you know? So sometimes your path is not as fluid as theirs, you know what I mean? Your growth is not going to be as fluid as the person you're trying to take on the endeavor. So let's say like I'll keep it layman. If you're like, for me, if I'm doing this podcast and I want my podcast like some other people in a local area, in my area, that's kind of really thriving at it, you can't get the benefits or the outcome they have until you grow it, until you kind of build it. Why? Because they had a couple things going for them that I may not have going for me. And they had a decent liquidity nest egg to go into podcasting. So it allows for them to do it for 18 hours a day. And like all they got to do is have the ambition to get on and kind of set up their podcasts and everything, and produce it and everything, and then go on. That's where their life is. My life is, I have to build a financial stability. I have to live a life and somewhat not fall through the cracks. In addition to that, I have to present 5 movies that I've done in a high standard of the industry, where I didn't have the luxury of having hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars to do a movie. I had the like the 1,000 to 10,000 to do a movie, and then I had to do the hard work of doing what it takes to get really good quality images and presentations done and editing done, and to make it play just as good as industry film does, but with the less liquidity and nest budget that to achieve that. So I have to take up the more time to execute, because if you don't have the time, you better have the money. If you don't have the money, you better have the time. And so for my situation, I had to put the time in order to get the execution of the industry, because I don't have the money to staff and do big things. But when I do my filming, I am crazy. I will film the movie pretty much the standard of the highest studio in the country, in the world, pretty much Disney, Paramount, Warner Brothers, Lionsgate, you know. This is somebody. Disney, Paramount, Warner Brothers, Lionsgate. And yeah, I think I got everybody. Disney, Paramount, Warner Brothers, Lionsgate. Yes, 4. Disney, Paramount, Warner Brothers, and Lionsgate. That's it. Those are the 4 that you need to even know about. Sorry for that little moment, that little glimpse. The memory blockage. I'm so exhausted. I be kind of doing this stuff day and night and everything like that. But anyway, my point being is that I had to change the image. Never quit. Okay, so that's the concept of all this that I want to say. You know, I remember when Donald Trump was doing a speech during his presidency, and he was kind of telling all these college students his idealism of, you know, watching people fail, and they could have succeeded if they just didn't quit. You know what I mean? So I do got a clip of it. So let me show it to you, and then you guys can kind of get his rhetoric, and then I'll kind of commentate about it. So here we go.
One of the most important things: never, ever quit. Never quit. You know, I went to a great school. I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and in that school, I met a lot of people heading industry today and over the past. Very smart people. But I've watched some of the people grow. I've watched some of the most incredible, brilliant students. And they didn't make it like other people made it because they didn't have that drive. They didn't have that never give up ability. I don't know if it's an ability or if you have it, just you can't quit. And I've seen people quitting. And if they would have held out longer, they would have been successful. I've seen it so much. I've seen some of the most brilliant people in the world that never made it because they were quitters. They were just quitters. They would quit. They just couldn't take it. They couldn't whatever. One of the things about loving what you do is that it's not work, and therefore you don't quit automatically. It's a lot easier not to quit. But you can never give up. Now, you have to also have flexibility, though. You can't necessarily say, I'm never giving up, and you got to be able to weave and bob. You don't have to go through a concrete wall when you can go over it or around it or under it or something. You have to have flexibility. You have to always be able to change course a little bit, maybe always with that same goal, but don't quit. One of the most important things: never, ever quit.
Okay, so I think that's the end of the video. What he says, just never quit. Okay. So as he says that, and look, why am I using Donald Trump? Well, because even I know a lot of people, probably people that watch this video or that's watching my channel, you probably don't like Donald Trump, and you probably don't, you think he's a racist and all that crazy stuff because of just the rhetoric of the last 10 to 12 years has been just completely psychological warfare put on the American people. We allow our intelligence agencies and our powerful elites to really manipulate our mindset and our thought process. And so we don't even know what we believe, and we don't even have any legitimacy to what we even believe, because what we believe is someone else's thought process that we respect and cherish and we look up to. But that's what individual perspective is. It's a mindset to say, don't open your mouth, don't voice an opinion, don't come to a conclusion unless you give yourself the respect and integrity of analyzing whatever you're listening to, whatever you're seeing, whatever you're hypothesizing in a pure, unmerciful, objectivity analysis. And that's what Individual Perspective Podcast is. And that's what individual perspective is. That's what an individual perspective is. So I wanted to use this to kind of show you guys just what Trump been through for the last 12 years is pretty hardcore. Like, if you're objective and you look at the data and you look at the facts and you look at everything that's going on with Donald Trump, and you have a total honest evaluation of it all, you will see that the 1970s apartment complex where the media tagged his approving of leasings of apartment complexes to people, they made it look like he didn't want to rent out to black people or minority people, but the truth of the matter was that under the structure of stability to the company and making sure that people can sustain payment of their rent, he wanted to make sure that he didn't rent out anything to people that couldn't make that didn't make 3 times the amount of their rent. So if their rent is $1,200, he wanted to make sure before you signed a lease with them and they do it that you could economically handle, like, or that you were economically making like $3,600 a month in your work. That way you could use $1,200 for your lifestyle, you could use $1,200 for the necessities of your life, and then you can actually pay your rent, $1,200 for your rent, without you needing to use your rent money for personal inventory or self gratification. So his thought process was structure it where people that we give leases out will at least be able to kind of support truly paying their rent on time and making sure they have 3 times the amount of the rent. So if it's $1,200, you make $3,600 a month. So he put that structure into who they approve for leasing or apartment complex. And at that time, pretty much, New York was pretty hardcore liberal, so they kind of was doing, they wanted the whole state, no matter what, all the city apartment complexes, condos, whatever, they wanted to have the ability to make them be a little bit more open for low income housing. So in order to make companies be a little bit more open, or at least have a certain amount of their lodging or condos or apartment complexes open to the possibility of a low income person being able to come into the housing of it, they needed to make sure that they took away the valuation of economic, how can I say, they needed to take away status or favoritism to economical status, so that a person that's in the middle class or the higher class couldn't only afford that complex. You had to make it that no matter what, if they pay their rent, if they show that they got a job and they can make enough money to pay their rent, then that's an approval process. Not that there's a certain specific amount that they will make every month to pay their rent. I don't really want to go through all this. I kind of spent too long trying to explain that to you guys, but just like something like that, it's got a bigger perspective and a bigger actual objective analysis. If you look at the paperwork, if you look at the data, if you look at the interviews, if you look at what was the defendant and the plaintiff communication, what was the city's thought process on suing him and everything like that. If it's got context to it, and everybody want to have a conversation emotionally, but no one wants to have conversations on objectivity. And we spent 40, 50 years of interacting with each other in an emotional, subjective analysis, and look what it has done. Look what it has done to society. We're a mess of a society because there's not an objective, honest, truthful analysis to what we're communicating and interacting with, and it's all up in the air. It could be perceived 100 different ways, and that's not the truth. So the Central Park 5, that situation was taken out of context, and I could go through that, but I'm just trying to play this clip and analyze that he has the right, and I have the right to even use him as a motivational advocacy because he's got the credibility. Okay. And then the politics and the Charleston, with Charlottesville and January 6th, the Capitol Hill thing, all of that is all out of context. It's all driving a psychological warfare narrative. And truth of that, look, if you would have told me 20 years ago that Donald Trump is the cleanest, like, person that you're going to find in this country. I'm sure that it's people that we love, pastors, actors, musicians, politicians. If you dig into their life like FBI and the CIA and the IRS and different attorney generals in different states, the political opponents that he had, President Obama, Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Eric Holder, and all the people that they know that do the nasty work on their behalf, if you dig into a person like that, all these people, you'll find how shady they are. And they dug into Donald Trump. If he's a shady, scandalous, scoundrel person, you will see it. There will be no way that he will be able to hide from it. Everything else is bias, it's perception without any real true analysis and objective analytical foresight or even way of analyzing his life, his company, and his interactions with the public and his interactions with people and everything. But he came out clean, man, and I got to give him respect for that, because I know a lot of people we look up to, they shady and they nasty, and if you look into their life, you'll find some dark stuff in it. And he came out pretty damn good. So I think his ability to keep fighting and keep pushing ahead is something I just want to kind of analyze, the idealism of not quitting and never quitting. So let's play this again, and I'll just stop it and talk about some of the things that he say real quick. And then I want to give a 3 things I think you need to focus on, and things I'm going to focus on, and I'm going to have part of my every minute interaction, and keep this in mind and literally go forward. Because by the time January 1st come, everything that I'm interacting and some of the things that I'm kind of having a little openness and little humanity for, I won't have it no more. I'll be purely focused and moving exactly what I think is the best for me and what I'm trying to accomplish. Okay, so let's open this back up and play this again.
One of the most important things, never, ever quit. Never quit. You know, I went to a great school. I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and in that school, I met a lot of people heading industry today and over the past, very smart people. But I've watched some of the people grow. I've watched some of the most incredible, brilliant students, and they didn't make it like other people made it because they didn't have that drive. They didn't have that never give up.
And what he means by that is like he's telling you about the Wharton School of Business. What that is, it's a high Ivy League type of like education on business and money and pretty much like Harvard and Yale and Princeton and all that stuff. And that's what Obama and them, like, once you kind of grow up or go to those kind of schools, you know the people that's going to be able to make you a millionaire right there. Just by knowing the people, just by going to school with them, you good. And you only grow from there. That's why most people that go to Yale, go to Harvard, go to Stanford, go to Princeton, go to the school that Trump just said, Oxford or MIT or something like that. Once you go in there, you're around people and you're doing certain things that it's part of your habit. It's habit forming. It's a culture that you're in now, and they'll make sure that you're successful. That community, those students, the teacher, the faculty, everybody that's connected to the alumni, that they'll make sure that you're successful once you go to these certain schools. A school, like Trump says, I think it's a school of Wharton that he went to and stuff. Like the society makes those people that's students, faculty, and alumni, they make sure you're successful. They don't let each other fall through the crack. So he's telling you that even those people have some people that failed, and all it was they just didn't have that stomach to just keep going when things got hard, when things got complicated, when failure comes up, or times of things that you try to achieve that fail and it doesn't work out, and it doesn't work out the way that you feel like it should work, and you're gonna have to even sacrifice even more and dig in even more and have more harsh times and sad times and downtime and depressed times. That most people take an easy way out and they quit and they just go work for somebody, or they just go do certain things just to take the easier path. And he's saying people could have been really, really successful because everything about them, what they were thinking of and the knowledge that they had a thing that could have been more successful and an endeavor that could have been more successful, but they gave up, they quit. So he's saying you gotta have that drive in you, gotta have that ambition in you, gotta have that go-getter attitude, that lion, that aggressive person in you, to push forward through the hard times.
Ability. I don't know if it's an ability or if you have it, just you can't quit. And I've seen people quitting, and if they would have held out longer, they would have been successful. I've seen it so much. I've seen some of the most brilliant people in the world that never made it because they were quitters. They were just quitters. They would quit. They just couldn't take it. They couldn't whatever. One of the things about loving what you do is that it's not work, and therefore you don't quit automatically. It's a lot easier not to quit. But you can never give up. Now, you have to also have flexibility, though. You can't people in the world that never made it because they were quitters. An ability, or if you have it.
I'm sorry, I'm just kind of taking it back so we could kind of make sure that was a smooth kind of communication from when he's talking about the people quitting. Okay?
Just, you can't quit. And I've seen people quitting, and if they would have held out longer, they would have been successful. I've seen it so much. I've seen some of the most brilliant people in the world that never made it because they were quitters. They were just quitters. They would quit. They just couldn't take it. They couldn't whatever. One of the things about loving what you do is that it's not work, and therefore you don't quit automatically. It's a lot easier not to quit. But you can never give up.
And even when you're trying to, most people, you may not get into a field where you get to love what you do, but you know that is a worthy endeavor for you to accomplish it because it's fruitful. It could be economically fruitful. Everything you do, you need to make sure that it's economically fruitful because sooner or later you got to pay for the space you occupy. You get what I'm saying? Maybe you could take it takes 3 to 10 years to truly make a company stable or make the interaction that you did with that company be able to work in perpetuity. You get what I'm saying? Make it work for long term. But it takes 3 to 10 years of really focusing and hard work and sacrificing and structuring for it to work for you for another 10 to 20 years, 20 to 30 years after that 3 to 10 year thing. They say 95, they say 90, what they say, they say 97% of all companies that are thought of and put into action fail within 3 years. Okay? And then within 10 years, about 90, let me make sure I'm making sure that's right. Within 3 years, most companies fail. Okay, I'm not gonna give a number to it, but it's in the 90 percentile. Okay, most companies fail within 3 years of conceiving, putting it into motion, and going and doing it. They pretty fail. In another 10, maybe 5% of those actual companies that succeeded past the actual 3-year mark, only 5% of them are actually in existence by the 10th year. Okay, so most companies fail from the day of conception to the 3rd year of operation. And then if they don't go out of business by the 3rd year, leading up to the 10th year, they're going to be totally wiped out, and doors won't be open. They'll be non-existent. So the thing is, you got to fight through the hard times. And you may not be able to get into something that you really love or something that you're passionate about and everything like that, but it's a worthy endeavor. Don't quit on that because you decided, hey, I want to go into a restaurant business. Don't quit on it. You just got to make sure that it's not a lot of people get into stuff that's not like they don't have the acumen or the problem solving or the fail safe knowing, oh, this is going to happen, so let me set this up so when that happens, I can respond to it in this way. They don't do that. So when stuff pop off, they can't adjust. You get what I'm saying? They can't adjust, So, I'm a filmmaker, and I know that's hypothetical in this fantasy world and everything, but it's a way that you can make content and you can make a film and you can do presentation of cinema and media that allows for it to be in existence and have value past your existence. But you gotta make sure you don't just throw it spaghetti against the wall. It's gotta be constructed well in order for it to last 3 to 10 years and well after your life has passed. You want total strangers from I'm in Detroit. I want people to come across of it in Johannesburg or in Europe or in China or, you know what I mean, in different states in America, Kentucky, Oklahoma, Louisiana, LA, Atlanta, Ohio, Indiana, all that stuff, Vancouver. I want what I make to kind of be able to live a little bit out of Detroit. And the only way I'm going to be able to do that is I have to be able to communicate to the viewer how Warner Brothers does, how Disney does, how Paramount does, how Lionsgate does. And that guarantees that the psychological human brain has reference. People are addicted to things that they used to. They got reference to, they visual presentations that they're used to. Okay, I don't want to go so much into that, but you got to keep fighting, even if you're not able to do the things that you love. But you said, hey, this is an endeavor that I want to take on. This is a business I want to build. Don't quit. Find ways that things might go wrong, and you have an answer for that when it goes wrong. That way, you keep pushing ahead even through the hard times until you build it and grow it, and make sure that you kind of have good foresight on building companies, or even if you're working for a company and you're trying to figure out how to move up the ladder or something like that, have foresight of where you are and where you're going and what's the things that might occur in between. If you do that, most likely you'll have the outcome that you want. Okay. Now,
You have to also have flexibility, though. You can't necessarily say, I'm never giving up, and you got to be able to weave and bob. You don't have to go through a concrete wall.
And what he means by that is have flexibility to know, hey, okay, in the making of this movie, I wanted to go into post-production and not do anything else and just stay in post-production and kind of do the editing and do the special effects and everything like that. But in order for you to survive, to keep your lights on, keep your phone bill on, to be able to figure out a way to pay for you to be able to edit the movie and do the work that you need to do, sometimes you got to go out and do other projects in order to have stability until you find a better plan to economically pay for you to kind of spend a year to put a movie together. You get what I'm saying? And for me, that's true. I know everything that he's saying, and I know these are things that are real because I went through them. You know what I mean? They're not just hypothetical words. They're not just like just stuff that people just saying, and you got to be a rich person or somebody to come and know it. These are things I'm going through, and a lot of people that had nothing, and we making something of ourselves. We go through a lot of this stuff, and so a lot of the things he's saying is very, very, very real, and it holds up to scrutiny because I know I went through it, and sometimes I'm not able to like edit a movie the year that I made it because I got to repair myself because I put so much money and I put so much of my economic status into getting the movie completed, getting the movie done, because the investors or executive producers, they're not real investors, they're not real executive producers. So they nickel and dime. So they want a multi-million-dollar outcome movie for $2,000, or they want a $100,000 revenue gain or ROI, but they want it on 30 grand or 15 grand or something like that. And it's like, hey man, no, because whatever you put into the production, you need to put into post. Why? Because the most important thing to a movie is its presentation, not the filming of it. You want the filming of it, but after you get the filming of it, you gotta double down now. And most people don't want to double down. They just want the big reward. So I always make sure that I interact with people with a very, very low margin. That way, no matter what, I can make them disappear. I don't ever have to have them part of the content. You get what I'm saying? And I don't ever have to be subjected to what their outcomes want or what their actual with their I'm losing my way of communication, but what their expectations are. I should only go with my expectation because I'm doing the most crazy stuff to get the movie made and actually be in existence. And I done the extreme sacrifice and the financial sacrifice for where we make it. I'm not gonna take the advice from somebody that put in like a 2% of what I put in. You know what I'm saying? Or 10% of what I put in, and I'm the reason why it's the actors are there, the equipment is there, the recording of it is me, the editing is me, the cinematography is me, all of the gaffering is me, and all that stuff like that. And it wouldn't be in existence. It would just be a bunch of people playing in the backyard, entertaining themselves without me being able to do what it takes to capture it, to put it in existence. And though my salary is pretty high, I have to sacrifice it 99% of the time because in the low budget filmmaking environment, people don't have that, and you wouldn't even make anything if you held to that standard. So sometimes I gave it up to get the movies that I needed to get done in order for me to have a pool of movies that now I can spend my time, even this year, just releasing movies and talking about them, communicating about them, or advocating about them. So you got to be able to kind of maneuver, and even if it takes you a few years to get a movie done, because you got to try to figure out your financial situation or build on it or pay for equipment or pay for computer software in order to be able to pull it off and do what it takes to get the goal accomplished. And sometimes you may not be able to just go straight luxury through like a film industry where you get paid for writing it, you get paid for setting up the prepping of the movie, you get paid for the movie, you get paid for the post-production on the movie, and then you get to pay for marketing and everything like that. Maybe you're never going to have that kind of liquidity or that kind of funds around you, but should you not even make the movie if you have the ability to make it? So what I've done is I'll give up my own financial gain to get the movie made because I own it, so I at least got ownership on my side when it's all said and done. So that's what I did. And then it's, yeah, for a few years I had to kind of like, not be able to be with my movie, not be able to do the crazy kind of special effects and editing and all that stuff like that I want to do, because I had to find a way to not let the world crumble beneath me, and for everything to not to get to wholly destroy because of extreme destitution. You know what I mean? So sometimes you got to go around, sometimes you got to maneuver and bob and weave through whatever it takes to get it done. And it's a journey. And that's what he's talking about with that.
When you can go over it or around it or under it or something, you have to have flexibility. You have to always be able to change course a little bit, maybe always with that same goal, but don't quit.
Okay, that's the end of that clip. And all it does gonna do is loop. But I know exactly what the last word was. So just don't quit. Never quit. Okay? And so these are the things I'm gonna kind of be advocating.
All right, a Fox News alert. The manhunt for the gunman who murdered the United Healthcare.
Okay, I got things in the background. I didn't even know. Remove that. Sorry about that, guys. Too much stuff going on. There's a clip about the. I'll talk about that. I got an update. About the healthcare CEO getting killed by the guy. I know. I got to update it. That was a clip that was left in the queue. But anyway, these are the things that I'm going to keep in my mind. And I think that they're very important for keeping a good mindset to when you're entering 2025. Like I said, this is a mindset inventory. You get what I'm saying? And it's never quit. And these is just this is the second one that I'm doing. I'm about to do a bunch of news reports and stuff like that to catch me up from post-election to now. But I just wanted to come in and give you guys a good mindset inventory episode. And what I mean by be your advocator, that means you have your family, your friends, your loved ones, people that are so close to you, the community, even in the industry that you're in and you're trying to achieve and become valuable in. Everybody's fighting for number one. Everybody fighting for their own ego and self-gratification. So it's a lot of money been spent to destroy anybody that tried to come into the industry or the circles or to get recognition and everything like that. So, your family may not believe in what you're doing. They kind of happy for you and they kind of like hope that it all works out. But even if you kind of tell them the data, the analytics, the actual probability of your success is pretty damn high. So stop adding to my problem and help me accomplish what I'm seeking out. Be an addition to the execution instead of a negativity to the and the advocacy to the demise and the failure of it. So you're gonna have to be your own advocator. You're gonna have to advocate for your own greatness, your own accomplishments, to where you're at, where you're going, why you're going in this path, why you're taking this path. That's why it says positive reinforcement. Be your advocator. That means make sure that you be your own positive reinforcement, because when you're in the jungle, when you're in the hard times, when you're in the most complicated situation, you're going to need to be the one who advocates for you and to communicate to you, to yourself, to pick you up and motivate you to keep moving forward. So that's what be your advocator is about. Unmerciful objectivity. And what I mean by that is having a clear path. What I mean by having a clear path is you already went through the failures, the pros and cons of what you're getting into, what you're trying to advocate, and what you're trying to seek and what goals you're trying to accomplish and how you see the direction of your life and everything like that. You already went through the pros and cons, the likely success and the likely failures, and what's the data out there in the endeavor of people being in the same place in the same situation that you're in. So once you do that analysis, that's been a merciful objective. You want to analyze that. You want to be totally open to that, because it gives you where you already know the pitfalls of it. So once you still decide to keep going, it's a clear path. You got total confidence. You understand the pain and the process and the trauma and the difficulties that you might encounter, that you will encounter, that you have encountered. So you're all right with the journey that you're going through, because it's worth the path, and you understand that every single thing that every single path that you took, or place that you came from, or step that you're taking, is pretty much what you perceived before you start taking the steps. And the only way you can perceive or have foresight to some of the different things you're going to be going through the journey is that you be totally unmerciful and objective, and have a merciful objectivity to what's might happen and what's the possibility of a certain thing happening. And then you put like solutions and offensive responses to those things that might happen on the course of your path and your journey that you may take. So have a merciful objectivity to the decision you're making. Okay. And like I said, the last one is never quit. Just never quit. None of the things that people have done in life, even if you work a job, is easy. So endure the journey. So tough out the bad times and keep going. And never quit. That's what that means. No path is easy. No path is easy. Working at McDonald's and becoming a CEO of McDonald's, or a store manager and everything, or a store general manager or something like that, or climbing a corporate ladder, or becoming a successful podcaster, or a movie star, or a singer, or a corporate hedge fund guy, or Wall Street banker, or a stockbroker, or a crypto king or queen, or whatever the path that you take is not easy. So whatever path you have chosen, stick with it. Never quit. Just endure the journey. Endure the actual difficulties, because you already thought of the likely success and what it takes to do the success, but also make sure that you equate that you got to see it through, and you got to be happy to problem solve the things that might make you fail. Okay? So never quit. So that's what I want to just come on here and talk to you guys about, never quitting. And this is like I said, I'm doing these mindset inventories, get us into the mindset of 2025 as we approach for the new year. We about 4 or 5 days off from now as I do this podcast. And I just wanted to kind of bring you guys in and talk to you about my mindset and what I'm kind of thinking of. And the sad part about it is you do leave a lot of people behind that you love, that you really love, that you want to make. I wanted a future with these people. I wanted to make sure that I had a future, but effective of January 1st, the discipline is, do I keep doing what failed, or do I initiate something that's going to give me to success? And they always say, when one door closes, another opens. And if you're not going to close the door that doesn't even work for you, that destroys everything that you're working so hard for, and you're trying to keep that open, and you're trying to keep that connection, you're not allowing a path to go through this next door that I'm walking into. You stand stagnant in the hallway, and that's not smart. It's just not smart. So what I'm doing, effective of January 1st, even at midnight, is that for anyone to have compromised what I'm trying to get accomplished, and they didn't do the best they could to be everything that they needed to be, because that's what I did. I did such a phenomenal job with being a director, being a writer, being a cinematographer, being an editor, being a gaffer, that I'm very confident that I have command of a full production from concept to giving it to the viewer. I have total confidence from a $2,000 movie up to a $200 million movie. I have total confidence. I have no insecurities about it. I know what to expect. I don't care if it's what kind of camera it is or whatever production is. I'm pretty well equipped in all of it. And I've done the time to kind of spend my time with everything to make sure that I'm not a legend in my own mind and I can execute. So I say this all to just say that I go forward January 1st, 12 o'clock midnight. I go forward where I cut off anything that not gonna help push ahead. There's no reason to talk. There's no reason to have the same conversation about ambition and mindset and all that other stuff. We already had this conversation. You got to close that door and walk into another one. No matter who you leave behind or what's the situation, it's better to kind of execute on the decision you already made. Okay, so thanks, guys. My name is Daris D. McKinney. This is Individual Perspective Podcast, and this is a mindset inventory. Never quit, y'all. Keep fighting. Fighting. Okay? I'll see you guys on the flip. Don't never quit. Okay?